Okay, let's make the connection back to psychopaths and try to understand their symptoms from the point of view of the mirror system and empathy. Recall that the psychopaths seem to lack empathy. They have an empathy deficit. While they can understand other people's actions, so evidently the mirror neuron system is functioning when it comes to understanding people's intended actions and so on, and that, of course, is useful if you're a psychopath and you're going to manipulate people. They seem to show a deficit in feeling the emotions that others are experiencing in their environment. Now, one way to understand that, as we've seen, is that perhaps they just have a deficit in some of the brain areas that are responsible for recognizing and producing emotions. And it might not really be a deficit in the mirror system, but rather the emotional component here. But the net result is that the psychopathic brain is not reproducing the same feeling that they are seeing in another, right? And so we can see this as a failure of what the kind of the mirror system is designed to do, and that is to kind of reproduce the action in our brain when we see it in another. The psychopath is failing to reproduce the emotions when they see expressions of emotion in others. So, for example, the suffering on somebody's face is just not going to register with the psychopath. Of course, in addition, they seem to be insensitive to punishment, right, and the negative emotions of parents or their guardians or whatnot. So again, they have a difficulty in the emotional learning department. But it's not clear. More research needs to be done whether the mirror neuron system is involved in that deficit or whether it is specific to the emotion systems. If the psychopath has dysfunctional emotional systems, then the perception of an emotional expression will fail to activate the similar emotion in the psychopath's brain. And now let's go back to normal populations. If you have taken the empathy survey, you will have encountered those various items, and you sort of say how much it applies to you or not. Well, there is variance in how people respond to those empathy surveys. Some people score highly on the empathy questionnaire, some people score average, and some people have low scores. Well, what researchers have found is that there's a correlation between the scores on the empathy scale and the activity, the sensitivity of the mirror neuron system. Specifically, those individuals who score highly on the empathy scale show greater mirror system response to various stimuli. Those individuals who score low on the empathy scale show reduced activity relative to those who score higher. It's as if, and we'll call this trait empathy, it's as if differences in the sensitivity of the mirror neuron system is correlated to the actual experience of empathy in one's life. Now, why do some people have mirror neuron systems that are sensitive and that seem to be related to increased empathy, and other folks have mirror neuron systems that are less sensitive and perhaps related to less empathy in one's life? That's a matter of ongoing research. But variation in the mirror neuron system is one explanation for why people might show differences in their trait empathy as measured by these scales. And one further note, women tend to score a bit higher on the empathy surveys than men do. And some have found evidence, again, that women have a bit more activity in the mirror neuron system than men.